Hello, my name is Drew Price. I'm a lifecycle marketing advisor. I used to lead lifecycle marketing at Grammarly from 2014 to 2020. These days, I do a bit of consulting and I also mentor a lot of lifecycle marketing leads. I'm excited to present Orient Towards Impact. The style of the presentation is going to be a little more rapid fire storytelling. And I'm just going to get straight into it. So today's email marketer and lifecycle marketer and adjacent titles, our scope for the last 10, 15 years has always been quite large. We hear a lot about T-shaped marketers. There is the T-shaped email marketer and lifecycle marketer. That's always really been the case. There's a lot of skills and knowledge that we have to understand, some very technical, some very creative. And it's always been a lot. It's been a lot, regardless of whether you're a campaign manager or a program lead. There's a lot to learn. It does keep getting bigger. It's definitely not getting smaller. So if you're feeling that, you're not alone. Everyone's feeling that. We're going from email only to multi-channel, and the technical know-how is changing. Even when we have these more modern tools, it seems like there's always something new, skills and knowledge that we have to learn. Not only that, our titles and our goals are being redefined. We're no longer just expected to look at superficial metrics. We are aligning ourselves with metrics like engagement, activation, deeper business metrics. This can mean a lot of things. And then there's new technology coming, predictive intelligence, more people concerned about things like churn prevention. On that note, you may feel this also. We went from basically being the redheaded stepchild, mostly ignored unless performance was not up to our projected targets, to now everyone kind of is hyper aware of the importance of the bottom of the funnel. And we have this drawing from Shel Silverstein is not cooks in the kitchen, but it's the same idea. There's a lot of people swimming in our waters and paying attention to our work. So let's talk about reframing the real assignment. One thing I notice a lot is we have a habit of wanting to talk about the trees, wanting to be seen and understood for just this broad and deep scope of all these trees, all these things we have to know and manage and actually excel at in order to create healthy, scalable programs. There's a lot here, there's a lot missing, but these are more or less the trees. Here's the thing though, the trees are part of the how. They are a bastard, they're a lot. And oftentimes we're spinning too many plates. Not only that, but the goalposts are always moving and changing. So this is constantly evolving. It's hard to keep up. The assignment is to improve the business. It's to make a material, measurable impact on the business and to make that impact obvious internally and to a degree externally. So the amount of stuff you've got, automations, campaigns, blood, sweat, and tears, or how great you've become at X, Y, or Z skill, learning Liquid, learning SQL, etc. In truth, it does not matter if there is not a true measurable impact. You're not leaving the program or programs in a better state than when you joined. So part of the thesis here is, and part of what I'm observing, is that the traditional email campaign and lifecycle marketer is actually an endangered species. And I'll contextualize that a little bit. product and growth, data and engineering, leadership, because they're all paying more attention. There's been some changes happening, maybe not in your industry or your company, but there are more companies moving lifecycle marketing into product and growth functions. Not because we haven't acquired a lot of skills and knowledge. Again, we have, and we know this stuff very well. There's a lot of depth there. But why is this happening? It's because we focus too much on the trees, and oftentimes we're handling these items directly too often. And it's easy for fresh eyes, those new and existing team members on product, on growth, and leadership, to see low-hanging fruit that we keep missing because we are too addicted to all the trees. There's just too much noise, too much to maintain. And it's easy to be contrarian when you're part of the audience receiving the materials, when it feels like things are just on autopilot, maintenance mode. They're being phoned in, even if that's not the truth. It's easy to poke holes. So where should we focus our energy? I've got 8 principles for the modern lifecycle marketer that I'm going to talk through. And this is really the main content for today. First, and I've been reflecting on this a lot over the years as I coach lifecycle marketing leads and observe teams in action, is we need to embrace being a truth seeker. There's many times I've observed those product and growth and engineering and leadership folks having a conversation with a lifecycle marketer, and we're talking apples and they're talking oranges. And at the end of the day, oftentimes we're usually talking about the trees, and it gets just so messy. So what I mean by being a truth seeker, it's around that measurable impact. So we should be doing more of longitudinal testing of downstream influence using holdback groups. Ignore the ampersand there. There's a lot here. Mostly what I'm talking about is, rather than being so lost in the current campaign of the day, the current email of the day, and possibly an A/B test that you measured, looking at direct short-term results, it's being astute at understanding the nature of lifecycle marketing and the longitudinal influence that doing a thing can have downstream. There's one thing to look at the short-term window. There's another thing, especially when you're looking at behavioral emails and automations or at the program level, of what could happen downstream. And the holdback groups not leveraged nearly enough by lifecycle and email marketers to try and get at that overall influence, not just direct short-term impact. And then incrementality testing at the channel and program level. This is like a click higher, but the same idea. Let's get to the truth. What would have happened if you had not stood up that entire program, that weekly program or monthly program, reoccurring program you have, or the seasonal offers that you're sending? Do you truly know the positive and negative long-term impact of the email channel as a whole and the individual programs that might be one click below, maybe in your preference center? If not, be more curious. I understand that there are technical hurdles to getting that implemented, but advocate for that. Be interested in the full truth. not just that short-term truth. And all these debates internally about whether you've got your preferred attribution model. Attribution models are important for establishing baselines and looking at trends and seeing how you're doing, but really, like, you can distill this down to the program and the channel level. Okay, and more of helping users make informed decisions on the best offering and features for their unique needs versus those bait and switch tactics, or again, those short-term focus tactics, or treating your users in these macro segments and personas. A lot of times they're not nearly complex or granular enough to truly do one-to-one marketing. And that's a bit of another conversation, but getting to the principle, help users make informed decisions on how to get the most value out of your product. That needs to be a North Star. We have an obligation to do this, to provide context so they can make informed decisions, and you will be rewarded with a more scalable program, less churn, less bad sentiment, because you're getting the right result by doing the right thing. That is truly more scalable. 2, kill your darlings. We have a habit of maintaining legacy programs for years, and there's probably some, measurable impact, but perhaps it's just collecting too much dust. And then we end up hiring people to take the wheel. We tell them to improve. Oftentimes, what's a crappy foundation. We're A/B testing on a crappy foundation. So you might be getting small yields. You're probably getting a lot of neutral results, ties, and then the occasional small wins. But if you're operating on a baseline that is not nearly as high as it could be with the reinvention of that program or that idea, then the opportunity cost is huge. Make sure to do a regular health check on your programs and measure incrementality. Again, be a truth seeker. Really get to the bottom of how important is this program? Not just how important is this program compared to last month or last year, but as a whole for the business today. One analogy here is more Willy Wonka, less Dr. Frankenstein. We have a habit of building these and maintaining these Frankensteins. When starting fresh and testing fresh versus the status quo could be the answer to a lot of problems. Okay, so value realization as a North Star. Let's talk about value realization and what I mean by that. First off, I've heard a lot of people, and I know I've used this also as a principle, talk about trust and how you could simplify what we do for a living as trust building. We have to build and improve trust over time with our customers. Easier said than done, but like a great principle to have. Now, how do we do that? Well, we talk a lot about relevancy, sending contextually appropriate messaging every single time. Also, easier said than done, but a fair principle. But I want to talk about value realization because increasingly I'm feeling like this is maybe a more actionable way to look at it. So we need to help. What I mean by this is we need to help our customers, our audience, realize product value at scale, constantly helping them realize product value at scale. What value they've gotten so far, contextualizing that, reminding them of that, and then how to get even more value that is unique to their behaviors, to who they are as a human being. Actually, yeah. So just to make the point one last time, value realization at scale is what we do, or is what we should be doing. And if you're sending messages that are not providing true value realization, it feels too indirect or too far apart from that, like really scrutinize that program and what you're doing. And like I said, measure it against holdback groups, understand incrementality, and try and come up with other ideas that are more directly providing that value realization. Value realization can lead to more positive sentiment. It helps people justify the subscription or the service or continuing to be a customer with you. It's super powerful. Okay, fill product gaps. Another actionable principle for email and lifecycle marketers. One of the coolest things in our job, again, going back to the Willy Wonka comment, is to act as product, not act as traditional marketing. So, meaning we get to create net new experiences, features, and content, not just paraphrasing other content or product experiences. So in other words, don't always lean into email as a gateway, but lean into email as a product, as a true product experience, not just optimize for the highest click-through rate possible. It is more fun this way. It can be challenging, but it's more exciting. You get to be a true inventor, creative force. And I can tell you that, what put my name on the map was building Grammarly Insights, because just for one, the sheer audience size, the impressions is so huge, but two, even though it doesn't have an indefinite shelf life, it has made a strong impression on a lot of customers. It's actually improved sentiment of the overall Grammarly product for a lot of customers. And it filled some product gaps. We were not providing this level of insight and analytics in the product. It's only recently that some of this has started to show up in the Grammarly product. Email was the prototype. Email was the guinea pig. And there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that for you, for career development purposes, but more so just it's, again, about getting the right result by doing the right thing. Okay, number 5. I'm observing this a lot as well, for various reasons. But beware of internal marketing scope creep. All right, our primary audience is our customers. Repeat, our primary audience is our customers, not appeasing internal politics. Many cultures are spinning their wheels right now on internal marketing. This is what I call internal marketing. Slide decks, team meetings, deep documentation, getting a consensus opinion on ideas versus testing those ideas and orienting towards action. This is not unique. I'm seeing it in so many places. Just remember, our job is to cook, serve the people, serve your customers, prospective customers. If you notice that internal marketing bloat, if you notice that and you're feeling it drain your energy for doing what our true purpose is, which is to create and do that value realization at scale, and to innovate, you need to advocate for this. What I see oftentimes is we get really frustrated and emotional and it leaks out. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about mature, proactive advocating and then leading by example as well. Take more of an ask for forgiveness approach, but have obviously, buy-in on your objectives with your manager and so on. Okay. Could talk a lot about the trends with new tools. And I'm going to be joining a panel probably actually before this video is released on the future of email and lifecycle marketing and automation. But there's just a few things I want to add here for the modern lifecycle and email marketer to think about. First off, use cases matter most. The number of new tools and platforms in our space making bold claims has gone up significantly. In other words, there's a lot of new tools out there. We all know it. We see the development. It's both exciting and it can feel threatening at times, or just confusing on like how do you adopt and implement. So just know that we're not yet at a stage where we've really fully figured out how to operationalize all these tools. And also that there are no silver bullets. It's not, you're going to give the computer the wheel and you just get to monitor things and press buttons on occasion if things go awry. How and why these tools are used truly matters. And that's what I mean about use cases. So actually, one other high-level statement here is, do I think that there is good coming from the new technology? Absolutely. And I believe that, for instance, journeys and segments have become another Frankenstein, another tree that we have to manage in perpetuity, and they are very imperfect. And more importantly, they don't actually get after the promise of one-to-one marketing at scale, like we've seen promoted over and over for about 15 years. We have not reached that point, not even really close. Sending to segments of, splitting things into segments of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 is not the same as one-to-one marketing. Often case it's millions and millions. So they don't live up to their promise. So there's absolutely room for disruption and room for better technology to augment how we handle lifecycle and email marketing at scale. And I am confident some of these tools can help you with production, intelligence, and one-to-one optimization. I'm not going to name the tools right now, but just, again, be curious. And when I say use cases matter, like one example is if you do have seasonal offers and discounts, oftentimes companies and teams will talk about, well, how do we do that in a more dynamic manner where you're giving almost like sliding scale pricing based on what someone can actually afford. Maximize overall revenue and the number of users going from free to paid, for example. While also, not giving up too much revenue and not treating things as one size fits all. Well, if you start to use machine learning and you create some guardrails around that, you can start to implement real-time testing at the individual, closer to the individual level, and scale a more complex, sophisticated system. Basically, you're becoming more algorithmic in nature rather than if this, then that at the macro segment level. So something to think about, but really my push is don't be avoidant, be curious, lean in right now. It is true that growth and engineering and data teams, they are looking to build or buy tools that will help with LTV optimization, with predictive intelligence and modeling for churn and all these things. That's happening. So why not lead the charge and be ahead of the curve? 7, be careful about how you choose and achieve your metrics. I think this kind of, speaks for itself. I pulled in some Shel Silverstein drawings throughout this whole presentation because the nostalgia of it was making me smile, but I'll just leave that here. Borderline inappropriate. But again, I think it speaks for itself. Take big swings. Um, it's another way to say some of what I've said already, but if I could be the cheerleader for one thing right now for all of you and for this community, it is to get comfortable with innovation. And please stop being so married to one variable at a time testing. Somewhere along the lines, this game of telephone over the last 10 or 15 years, we've gotten addicted to these small tests that are actually not even like that scalable. You're really just proving what happened in that moment of time with that campaign, with that slight adjustment. So not only is the test not that meaningful, people are then implementing it as if it's gospel. This is not the way. We need to be comfortable with taking these big swings, multiple variables, different programs, completely different approach, completely different look and feel, multi-touch. And then again, longitudinal measurement. There is such a higher potential for unlocking true big wins here. So do not stay married to that one variable testing at a time. First of all, it's going the way of the dyno, and that's what some of the new tools are going to bring is a completely different approach to testing at scale. But also it's never been as smart as we think it is, and the opportunity cost and the amount of time to operate like that. It's just so slow. It's so slow. So big wins. Another thing. This is like a nice downstream effect internally. Is they tend to be addictive. Like cultures that have become too slow. That also becomes addictive. But like someone coming in and doing amazing work and shipping wins and like being super hungry, that is also addictive in the best way possible. And it makes work more fun. Plus, it keeps the wolf or rhino in this case from the door. And again, I'm talking about these other teams. And there's not necessarily anything nefarious with turf wars or anything like that. But again, it's think less like that traditional lifecycle marketer and more like a growth person or a founder, entrepreneur. You're looking for wins and innovation and to truly add value at scale with your customers. So my TLDR is take pride in growth, not in being a generalist and counting the number of trees you manage. That is a crutch. Okay, this wasn't perfect, but I hope you got value out of it. And thank you for watching and listening. I am going to point you to my Substack newsletter, Scaling CRM. There's a URL. It's kind of a center of gravity for me with all my content. And I appreciate you so much. Hope you have a great day.